Hello, welcome and happy Father's Day to everyone. Thank you for joining us for AfterWords. Today we experienced a message from Dr. Jawanza Eric Clark entitled Ecological Reparations. So we are very glad to have you here for AfterWords, which is sponsored by the Shrines of the Black Madonna Pan African Orthodox Christian Church. This is a time where we reflect and share our insights from the recorded message. To begin with, I'd like each of our guests to introduce yourself and give us maybe one thing that stood out for you from today's message, starting with Sister Austin Monet.
Hi, everyone. As she said, my name is Austin Monet, and it's really an honor to be here. And I was like, very honored and surprised to be asked to even speak after a sermon by Jawanza Eric Clark, because he's like a giant to me, along with his predecessors like Albert Clegg. And it's amazing just to even be in this virtual space after studying with my pastor Heber Brown, these Albert Clegg's work. So I'm Austin Monet. I'm a part of the Black Church Food Security Network, and I just really care about Black liberation and political education. And I think everything that was said resonated and connects to what I care about when I read and study and write about. But one thing I want to learn more about specifically is the education classes that he was speaking of, and the Freedom Farms from Fannie Lou Hamer's co-op. And he mentioned that she had like education programs, and I'm just curious about learning more of that information along with all the other things that were mentioned in our study.
Thank you. Baba Judah, would you go next?
Yes, I'd like to say I'm Baba Judah Molokai. My friends call me, well, there are a lot of different names, but the thing is that I am the current pastor of Beulah Land here in South Carolina. And I think the thing that really struck me the most about just the title, the ecological reparations, and how Bishop Jawanza was able to string together the bridges that make it real ecologically and theologically for us as a people. It gives us a grist for the mill to understand the total package that we're dealing with. That we're dealing with a red, black, and green plan, essentially in terms of restating our relationship with each other and with God and with the land. And I think this sermon is destined to be a classic. There's so much there, and there's so much just in the title, and so much to unpack about that grabbed me from the beginning. And I think we look at the red for the blood that we have shed and continue to shed, the black for the people, that we are an African people, all over the diaspora, all over the world, and reconnecting that, and the green for the land that we need. And particularly the beautiful thing that we're doing here at Beulah Land, and that is the farm project of the Pan African Orthodox Christian Church. We've been here,
Thank you.
and it's been profound. I'll talk some more later.
Okay. And the Sister Nataki.
Greetings, and so very happy to be here. My name is Nataki Anyamachi. I am the founder and CEO of Empowering You, LLC, which I founded back in 2012, I believe. I can't remember now, it's been so long. I am a former member of the Shrine of the Black Madonna. Is actually where I was ordained with the name Nataki Titilope Anyamachi, and I have made it my legal name because I feel the energy of the name and what it represents, and so I'm happy to be formally and legally known now as Nataki Anyamachi. I am happy to be a part of this panel. The message that Dr. Jawanza brought forward in terms of the ecological reparation, and especially when he mentioned our relationship with the land. because I feel as though our relationship with the land and with our relationship with each other, because that's so very, very vital to for us to move into a much broader and higher level of consciousness. And my work is working with all types of people. I work with all races of people because, again, this land, Divine Mother Earth, has been seeded by, and is now seeded by different races. And so it's important for us to, I feel it's important for us to understand and become more harmonious, because our thoughts and our energies do impact everything that we're experiencing on the land, because we have all of that inside of us. And so it sends out a vibration that impacts everything that's happening on the land, everything that we see. But we have to first go within ourselves and see where those things lie within us and begin to heal our own trauma, the trauma from our past, the trauma from this land, and everything that we have experienced in this life and all past lives. And that's going to be very critical for us to begin to raise our level of consciousness and our energy to a point where we can really make some serious changes and really impact this earth in a very positive way. So again, I thank Jawanza for his message, Dr. Jawanza. It was very timely, very, very truthful, and it came with a lot of wisdom from the ancestors in terms of a message that is needed for now.
Thank you. And now let us hear from the Barudis. I guess, Kamara, you should go first.
Thank you, Reverend Neonu. I want to greet everyone on the panel and those who may be watching us. And to the fathers, wish you a very happy Father's Day. I was very impressed with the message of Dr. Clark, because it's so basic to what it is that we have to do basic to what we have to consider as we talk about our liberation. Because we certainly know that as we talk about fighting for our liberation and our freedom, we've got to be able to have a basis, a solid, concrete basis of land on which to be able to implement that. And if we kill the land and destroy the land and the water and the air, and looking at all of it together, then we know certainly we won't have any place where we'll be able to enjoy the liberation that we're fighting for. The takeaway for me was the expansiveness of the land that was held and owned by Blacks, the documentation that is being presented to, in fact, concretize what it is that was held in our hands and the ways in which it was stolen from us. To be able to say that, no, we have records, we have documents, and this is land that was held and owned by us as Black people, Black individuals, and Black collectives in a Black community. And we certainly have a right to reclaim it and to demand reparations on behalf of that.
Well, I thought it was a powerful.
I'm sorry. Kamara, you did not tell us who you are, and I can just briefly tell everyone that you are, I would say retired educator, but you never really retire from
Never
being
really retired. Yes, Kamara. I'm Kamara Barudi, living here in Brooklyn, New York, and we are members of the Shrine in Atlanta. We don't get down there as often as we would like to, but we certainly look forward to our trips there, being back with Bishop Wenda and the congregation there. And I spent 36 years with the Board of Education here in New York, and then 15 years after that in the New York State and the New York City Legislature. And we're very pleased to say that during that time in the New York City Legislature, my husband and I were able to introduce significant legislation that talked about environmental racism and correcting that impact of environmental racism here in New York.
Thank you.
Next.
I'm scared to talk. I done jumped out the turn so many times. Now that this is my turn, I'm scared to talk.
It's okay. And remember, it's Father's Day. We'll
Right.
forgive
Get
that. No problem.
All right, my name is Shamari Baruti. I'm honored to be the wife of Kamara, the husband.
We don't.
I
know.
quit.
Straight.
I quit. I quit.
You are both male and
I
female,
ain't
so it's
playing no
okay.
more. I ain't playing no more.
Take your
The
time,
husband, the
Good point,
husband
Natasha.
of Kamara,
take your time, Pop.
the husband of, what's your name?
Your
But
title, Mr.
it's honor, you know, we're in a thick campaign. I'm running for re-election here in New York City, and I've been fighting all week. So I exhaled today. But anyway, my name is Shamari Baruti, means forceful teacher. Kamara Baruti means experienced teacher. And we're very, very honored to be in the elected arena here in New York City. Kamara has retired since from the electoral arena, but not from the movement.
That's right.
And we have 5 grandchildren. We're proud members of the Shrine in Atlanta, and we're going to continue to fight for liberation. What I liked about the message was that, one, when Dr. Jawanza said, we can't wait for them to give us reparations. I mean, we got a ways to fight. Here in New York City, we put reparations on the map in the state legislature, had a nice piece of legislation going forward that would give the community, which is the key, the community would have the majority of the appointments to the commission. In HR 40, Kanye's bill, is the president and Congress having the majority. In the bill in California, the governor has 5, and the legislature has 4, community has none. In our bill, we had 2 for Cobra to appoint, 2 from the Shrine, the Institute of the Black World, Ron Daniels and them were picked 2, and 2 from the December 12th movement. And they changed that, and they passed 3 from the governor, 3 from the state assembly, and 3 from, so we didn't get the bill we want, but we made them pass for the first time in the history of New York State, a reparations commission. Now we're gonna crash the commission to make sure that they do the right thing. We're gonna fight them for the right appointments. But with this message today, the powerful thing is what we're doing in the Shrine. Reparations without liberation and without building a Black nation will keep us on the American plantation. I think that if we're going to get our reparation, it has to coincide with our liberation.
Right.
And I think that that's what I liked about the message. We can't wait for them. We got 4,000 acres of land, I think, is Beulah land. It's probably some of the largest piece of land that a Black organization or institution has. And so if any place reparation needs to come, it needs to come to Beulah land, where we have the largest organization or piece of land owned by Black people in the nation. So I'm very, very excited about the possibilities in this movement. And I encourage people, don't get into those arguments. What you gonna do if you get the money? No, Black people gonna give it right back to the man. They didn't say that to the Jews. They didn't say that to the Japanese. They got it. They didn't say that to the, it's like, you owe me something, you pay me back. You don't ask me what I'm gonna do with the money. I can't owe you $100 and you say, I'll give you that $100 back, but what are you gonna do with it? See, it's only Black people get into that foolish and, oh, how much, Charles? The commission will determine that. When we have our hearings and when everybody, economists come, because I know he did mention the Sherman's Special Order 915, but what did happen is that a brother by the name of Tunis Campbell, he did get some acreage from the Freedmen's Bureau that he was headed up right after the 1865, after the Civil War. And they had St. Catherine's where the Sea Islands were. And he was able to actually bring about 500 African people. They had St. Catherine's. He became the president. They had their own system. They cultivated the land. And that's where the 40 acres and the mule, because the preachers at that time were saying, we want 40 acres and a mule. So they got some acreage, didn't get the mules, but that was a fight. And then came Johnson and took the land back and gave it back to the Southern crackers, because it was a confiscation act that they got the land in the first place. So Powerful message, very inspirational.
Yes, I think that Dr. Jawanza was just eloquent in opening so many um, ideas that we need to study and pray over so that our liberation is accompanied by saving the land. Because, as was stated, our liberation is useless if the planet is uninhabitable.
Hmm.
I think that the documentation that he has in his book, which is Restolen Claim, you can't see it. But if you have an opportunity to read Reclaiming Stolen Earth and Africana Eco-Theology by Dr. Jawanza Eric Clark, you will not regret it. He talks about how the global warming, which is also called climate change, and all this destruction of the planet has resulted in the earth mourning. What are your thoughts about that? The land, the earth is mourning. Is that something that crossed your mind before hearing the message today?
I believe there's, I'm not sure if it's a scripture, we have a tendency sometimes to make everything scripture, but there's the phrase that says, if my people will humble themselves and pray, then will I heal the land. They'll hear from heaven and I'll heal the land. So in terms of that, which I think is scripture, it certainly emphasizes the fact that the land can be damaged and the land can be harmed. And we're the ones who are inflicting that damage and harm. And certainly we have to come to, first of all, a recognition of that fact. And that's going to require a lot of people being educated to that and being then helped to change the ways in which they are living and what they're doing. So we know that I saw a documentary of, I think it was East Africa, where so much of the world's trash is sent that the stream, there's a river which is now so clogged that people literally are walking, quote, walking on water because there's so much plastic there that the river is clogged and people are able to actually cross the river by walking on the clogged plastic, which has kept the water from flowing, or the water is still so far beneath that they don't even have access to it. So I believe that, yes, there's a spiritual connection in that regard.
Right. The visual that I'm getting from the plastic is that the earth is constipated, if you will.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Good, good.
If you will. Sister Nataki, well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, I was gonna say,
I'm sorry. I thought Nataki was about to say something.
yeah, I thought so too. Right.
I was, but I felt she was going to continue, so I was
No.
waiting.
No, I'm done.
Mhm.
I'm done, Sister
Well, I wanted to just add on to that prior to this message from Dr. Jawanza, yes, this has been a part of many of the ceremonies that I'm currently in South America. And it's been many of the ceremonies that I have attended with a lot of the indigenous here in terms of us reconnecting to the earth, reconnecting to the land. Because we have become just separated from the land. We don't honor the land and the resources that we have. And so, and even in just the way we live life, how we have become such, high consumerism. And so we buy a lot of things that we don't need. So we are adding, our way of living is adding to the junk, to the plastic and everything that we see that is causing a lot of chaos on the planet is what we do. And so we have to begin to we have to begin to look at what we do. How are we participating in this clutter that's actually cluttering and clogging up the rivers and the streams and the oceans and what we buy into? And so we have to begin to look at what can we do differently in order for us to live differently and live more in harmony with the land and all the resources that we are given, because the land is amazing. Earth is amazing in terms of the amount of resources that we have at our fingertips every minute that we breathe. And so we want to begin to honor that. The trees, the plants, the animals, the water, everything that we take part of, how are we honoring it so that we could, again, begin to reconnect to the land in a way that will begin to change the energy and the frequency of the land so that we can change our frequency and energy and our consciousness and develop different practices. Because, in studying ancient history, and there was this communion and understanding of the earth that we have kind of lost, and that's, to me, is our separation from the earth, which I would say is what I would consider is the sin that we are committing here on this earth, is our separation from it. And when we become separation from the earth, we become separation from each other, and our relationships are just a reflection of our relationship with the earth.
See that?
I was going to piggyback off of what she was sharing. I would say for me, I'm really excited. My book came yesterday, and I started digging into it, and I intended to start it before it was accessible back in 2022, when I just knew about it. I couldn't purchase it at the time. It wasn't for sale yet. But I'm excited to get more into it. And I love how he talked about, connecting more to our ancestral spirituality, and ideologies and things that have been lost through the Ma'afa. Because I think, his concept, or when he shared capitalism has turned the earth into a commodity. Of course, my brain went to How Europe Underdeveloped Africa, and Walter Rodney's text, and just all the analysis in that book. And I think when my first time in Africa, I went to South Africa, or Azania is the better term for it, I think, based on his book. But I love how he talks about the fact that he says, thus on page 74, thus in spatial terms, the post-apartheid era in South Africa is indistinguishable from that of the apartheid era. And that's what I felt when I visited there. It was many years ago now, but the shanty towns were still there, and people there's been no redistribution to the extent that it needs to be of the land. And so the de jure, apartheid is gone, but de facto apartheid is still there, just like segregation is still broadly in place in America, though it's not legal. And so I don't know, just I love how he articulated it, and I'm just excited about learning how do we become sovereign over our land? How do we have Black sovereignty, Black land sovereignty, but not, reproduce the systems and the exploitative, structures that are in place as we try to reclaim the land? So it's just a lot to put together, but I appreciate this space for processing it.
Indeed. I think that's the challenge for us. We've got to reconnect with the land. We've got to get in right relationship with all that has been provided for us. And for me, I live in Anderson County, South Carolina, and you want to do your part. At first, I was trying to separate my trash. I figured that's just a small little thing, but I try to do it. But the first time I took it to what they call the convenience center, where you take your trash to be disposed of, they took all that stuff that I had separated and threw it all together. And I was because I felt like what I was doing was so minuscule. But then they took the little bit that I thought that I could do, and it made me feel like that was for naught. However, this morning's message really led me to feel that all that we have invested in Beulah land will help us to right our relationship with the land in a far greater way than anything we could do as individuals. I like the way that he used Fannie Lou Hamer's historical efforts as an example. We can do far more together than we could ever do individually. And so I look forward to seeing Beulah Land here in South Carolina as it develops, not as a commercial, capitalistic, same old, but it's owned by Black people, but by a way of creating harmony where there was discord. It's almost Beulah Land to me is like it's an offering to try to correct all that we have done wrong in relating to land. In my family, as well as probably most every Black family, has at least one story of somebody that got ran off their land. And I feel like the whole idea of us claiming our reparations, not asking someone else to give them to us, but righting the wrongs ourselves through Kujichagulia, through self-determination, that does my heart right. And it makes me feel that we are at least headed in the right direction. And I'm glad that we have Baba Judah here, who lives and breathes and works on Beulah land. What do you have to say?
I could talk about Beulah land all day.
And we know this.
So I think what's really, really important is that we understand about what Nataki was saying, the rising of consciousness, what it means, like Kamara was saying also, in terms of we tend to reflect with scripture, like the beginning of knowledge is understanding our relationship with God, understanding what we have as humanity. And in the shrine, when we talk about Beulah land, we're talking about the scripture, what it says that it's often described as a place of peace and beauty and prosperity, a place where God's love for his people is evidenced in the abundance of blessing bestowed upon them. We are a people, we were former slaves in America. We were kidnapped, brutalized, and dispersed throughout the world. And to come back together, to reclaim that, and to reclaim that, what we are, and to do things together, to fight together, is a profound statement and move of God. And what we're talking about is God, the creator of all things, and essentially cosmic energy and creative intelligence is God's essence, and it's in each of us. And once again, I think Nataki was right on when she says that we can't change anything other than ourselves. And that's where it all starts, and that's what our theology is dealing with. The best self-theology in terms of changing ourselves, what's in us, and to reflect differently how we see things, how we see each other, as we've been conditioned to hate ourselves and to hate each other. And so as we move into this new world, as we reclaim land and reclaim each other, we have to fall in love with each other again, and to love and trust and support each other. And that is a profoundly difficult thing from 20 generations. We have to know what we're up against. And one of the things that we've learned from this demonstration farm that we have here in South Carolina, it ain't easy. It takes work, it takes commitment, and there are challenges, and everything doesn't work out. So it takes a group of people that have the grit. And the beautiful thing about Beulah land here, we own the land, and we have good things and bad things and struggles, but we're not giving up. In fact, we're getting better at it and stronger. But it takes work, and it takes a commitment to each other, to God, and to go deeper, more and more, to learn and above all, to adapt as this world adapts. One thing has become clear by climate change. For example, in South Carolina, there are earthquakes all the time now.
Mm.
The insurance company called me and said, you need to get some earthquake insurance. There is flooding, crazy windstorms hitting. You can see it and feel it. And we can make all the excuses in the world we can, but God has awakened us and we've been called to do what God has called us to do. And what God has for people that embraces that we call Beulah land, is that relationship where we're not alone and God is with us, but it can't be one-sided. God loves us, we have to love God and do our part. And that's what Beulah land is doing, an opportunity to do that in a concise way together, then and take it out. So once it's in you, you can take it anywhere. That's what we're
Yeah.
a small part of it.
Yes. So are there any closing thoughts that anyone would like to share?
I would like to, Reverend Leona, you said something very, very important that I think we need to have a whole conference on it. We, and Reverend Jawanza mentioned it too, that seeing the earth as a capitalist commodity. And then you mentioned that we want to build a nation and build our land, but not Black capitalism. See, I think this is critical because capitalism, when you look at the fact that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and it wasn't to be owned by people, but be used by people, and that it's supposed to be managed by people. And that's the biggest problem. So the indigenous people, they didn't sell Manhattan for $24. You know, they weren't selling nothing that they didn't feel they owned. They had a different
Right.
concept of land. But,
Yes.
you know, that's what our oppressors came and made people think that. So when you know that the things that God has given us, wind creates energy, water, hydro energy, and geothermal, the earth energy is probably the most powerful energy there is, and of course, solar. So if we got solar, water, wind, earth, that's clean, accessible, inexhaustible, and we're going to go to coal, oil, you know, we're going to go to nuclear and all of that stuff that's not as clean, that's too expensive, and that's killing the earth.
Right.
So
Just say it's ungodly.
to say it, there you go, there you go. It is ungodly. That's why I'm glad you brought that up. And then finally, climate change. You know, when the sun sends the infrared rays to the earth to heat up the earth, and then when they reflect off the earth and shoot back out into the atmosphere, if they don't all escape because of the carbon dioxide that's making the atmosphere thick, so thick that some of the rays don't escape, that's what's causing the earth to heat up, because these rays are supposed to be able to escape into the atmosphere. But the way we're living, the atmosphere is so thick now that three of them will escape, one will stay there and hit back, and that's why the temperature's coming up. That's why water, that's why the lakes are shrinking up. That's why all of the tsunamis, all of that is happening because of what's happening with climate change. And I think we need to be real aware of that. So, but thank you.
Amen. I think Coltrane said it best when he said the creator has a
The
master
master
plan.
plan.
Now, you want to change the plan and go against the plan, it's not going to go well for you.
That's right.
Any other closing remarks?
Well, I just want to say that, you know, we have to remember, just like in alignment with what our brother Shamari just said, that we are stewards of the earth. And we have adopted, even though we fight, and I don't like to use the word fight because we need to become in harmony, but we fight against the oppressor's plan, but then we have to look in terms of how we are reflecting that which have been, that has oppressed us. How are we doing anything that's differently, that's different from what we have been trained? And so these are programs in our mind, and that we have to begin to
Okay.
disengage with, so that we can begin to see the bigger picture, which, we are stewards of the land. We
That's
didn't
right.
come here to control the land.
That's right.
We are here to protect the land. And so, as Baba Judah mentioned about our connection with ourselves, and this was during my time at the shrine, which was 1990 to 1994, one of the things that I really appreciated was that there was time given for us to have group process so we can work on our stuff, work on our trauma, work on healing ourselves so that we could build a greater and more effective collective community. And that's what it's going to take, get the healing from within so that we can expand this healing, this love that's inside of us throughout, the planet. And this is where the change really truly begins, from love. And we know God is love. So when we begin to make changes within ourselves and honor ourselves and begin to love ourselves, we can love each other in a bigger and better way. And that love will expand throughout the earth. And it takes doing little things, little things. And even though Reverend Leone, you said, just separating your garbage, you thought you were doing something, you were doing something, because that's what it takes. It takes these little steps that we take within ourselves to do something different than what we have been programmed to do. And I want to just encourage, we have to take this word fight. It's now just becoming, one, and relaxing into understanding what we've been told and what is truth and what is lies, so that we can kind of begin to separate what is real and honor our own imprints and our own journey, because we all have special gifts that we were given to participate in this global expansion and in raising our consciousness so that we can be able to, because the earth is going to do what she's going to do. The earth has the capability of, again, healing itself. We have to heal ourselves on the earth so that we can be in harmony with the earth. And so when we see, because these things are going to happen, tsunamis, earthquakes, I've experienced just, I don't know how many earthquakes, I could feel the building shaking, here. And these are things that we are not, accustomed to, but it tells us that the earth is going through its changes. So we have to be willing to go through our changes so that we can be in harmony with her and honor her and honor this changes that we're going through, because it's going to be more.
Ashe.
So as my,
Austin,
as my closing, I just wanted to say, like, coming out of Pleasant Hope Baptist Church in Baltimore, Maryland, and being under like Hester Heber Brown, we take this book seriously, and we've studied it together and we've done classes on it, and I've used different books that we've talked about here in my essays and stuff in school, and I've sort of seen this as a historical reality, and it's really cool that being invited to this has been really cool for me, because it's like, this isn't just, what wasn't happening in the 60s. Like, y'all are still doing this and it's still happening. Y'all still active. And I'm so I'm going to be tuning in more to your services, to keep growing and to be in community with you guys. That's kind of my takeaway, and amongst all the nuggets that I gained from the sermon, and expect to gain more from reading all these books.
Ashe. Well, we thank you for joining us, Austin. We're glad that you are here, Nataki. And I just wanted to mention that Nataki, if you can't tell from the words coming from her mouth, she embraces her indigenous American heritage. And that's not just something that she puts on demographic information. It's all in her. I don't know how to explain it, Nataki, but I hope that I didn't misrepresent you. But
No,
thank you for
that's,
joining us.
thank you.
Kamari and Kamara, you know we always love having you. And Baba Judah, thank you for being here. For those that are joining us live on YouTube or at a later date, if you have not listened to the recorded message for June 18th, 2023, please find it at the Shrine Online on YouTube so that you'll know what it was that we were reflecting on and giving our insights about. Feel free to like, share, comment on all of our presentations. We are always glad to have you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.